Hi, everyone. I would like to introduce Nohria and Alexandre Birman, the co-founder of Arezzo, the biggest house of brands in Latin America.
What do you want to say? Slide. Good morning. Well, it's truly a privilege to be here. As you can tell from the way Alex is dressed and he's the fashion guy and I'm not. So it's such
Here's my jacket, I have to be honest with you.
It's such a, I mean, every part of you, look at your, like just from top to toe. I mean, he represents his brand and he represents his fashion style. So it's truly a privilege to have this opportunity to spend some time with you, to have this conversation. So, you have already become well known as having built some of the great fashion businesses in Brazil, and not just in Brazil, now the biggest fashion business in all of Latin America. So, people always think that success arrives quickly, and success is, in my experience, a hard-fought thing that
It never arrived yet for me.
and hasn't yet arrived.
Not yet.
So, but tell us a little bit about your journey, Alex, and like what has gotten you to this point. Of course, everybody now knows of this big merger that you've done, which is the next step of your journey. But let's first understand step one, and then we can talk about where you currently are at.
Nitin, before answering to your question, I'd like to thanks to Marcela on behalf of all Brazilian conference team that in the last 10 years has worked so hard to group Brazilian different mentalities from different topics to be together and be proud about Brazil. So it's a honor to be here. And yesterday for me was one of those days that are unforgettable. The time I had with you to discuss about my current moment and listen to your inputs and feedbacks, they were extremely important for me. So I thank you very much for your time. So it's building success is a daily basis. I really have to say that everybody tells that I should be a little bit more proud of all the things I have achieved, because for me, every day is day one. I've never felt that I have done it. I always think that there's so much to do, and maybe that's why I'm here. I think that after listening to Jorge Paulo, I'm in the right path. Not thinking risk is the biggest risk. So since I was a kid, actually, literally at the age of 5, my father has just founded his garage home shoe factory. Arezzo, as you might know, is the name of a city in Italy. So his first marketing investment was to take the map of Italy and to browse into a different name that people would not know that is a city in Italy. So I think he was very successful with that. Italy was always known for good shoes. So I was born in that environment, still a very, very small business. And my father really succeeded through his hard work and his passion to achieve his goals. From that ordinary factory, after 10 years, has built a strong shoe factory, which I had the pleasure to do my first job, to really make a shoe with my hands from A to Z to him. I passed that task, and then I had the chance to live here, very near to Boston, in Northfield. I went to boarding school here. It's freezing up there, but it was important for me to learn a lot of things, even how to make my own bed and cook for the others. There were lessons that I took from here. So I was already, after going to Italy as well, to learn how to speak Italian, shoe designing at the age of 16. I joined my father in the company and thought maybe we have some trouble here. I'm going to hire a family consultant business to develop your career. And after a few sessions, the consultant told my father that I should not work with him. So my first big disappointment was that, and I took that disappointment as
Was it a bigger disappointment for you, or was it a bigger disappointment for your father?
I think that for me, he didn't want me to work with him. So I think that he was very happy about it, to be honest with you. And at that moment, he was closing his factories, moving from factory to retail. We're talking about 1995. And I approached him with an idea to sublease one of his factories to become a supplier. I thought that I had the skills how to manage a factory. Not a big factory with 200 people. And in the back of that factory, I created my own brand, Schutz, which, by the way, everybody got a canvas bag. Schutz is one of the brands that we manage here. I have one of our franchisees here that lives in Florida. So there is a gift card as well. So it's a pleasure for you to use it. If you can buy a gift for someone, I would really appreciate to make more sales as well. So that's a little bit of how I started. I built out my own self until 2007. And it was a very unique movement, I believe, because Arezzo & Co. is the result of the merge of father and a son. So I really was able to take all his lessons, work hard, correct quickly my mistakes, and he invited me to become his partner. So we joined forces, and then we sold to a private equity fund, 25%. We learned how to deal with investors. We learned how to have partners. When you have a partner, you have a boss. So that's how I learned. And we implemented a lot of important managerial tools that we didn't have. We were focused on product development, brand, and sales. In the end of the day, that's what matters. But if you can add on top of that meritocracy, governance, strategy, management of a real well-titled budget control business. So we grew very quickly, and we IPO'd this company after time that I spent here in Harvard doing the OPM in 2010. We IPO'd this company in 2011. So from there, I think the story is more well-known, and I'm thrilled to have every day as day one. I really don't look at numbers. For me, what I see in terms of the magnitude, $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, for me is just the beginning. So every day is a new day.
So, unlike Giorgio Paolo, who was talking about his Harvard experience and went to college and was the way he describes it, his college experience was an interesting experience. You never went to college, and yet you've learned so much in life. Tell us a little bit about what has been your approach to learning. Clearly, from my experience of you yesterday, you just appear to be a voracious learner, and so how did you set about learning even though you did not end up ever going to college?
Thank you for making me naked in front of everyone here, right? So it's part of the job, especially being in Harvard. And I have to correct a little bit. I didn't finish college, but I
started college.
I went to college for 2 years.
This looks like a pattern in your life. You started OPM, you didn't finish OPM.
Exactly, okay? So I'm a go-getter. So at the age of 18, I created my own business. I was in college in Belo Horizonte. When I moved to the south of Brazil, most of you here are Brazilians, you know that the women's shoe cluster is in a very specific region where it was colonized by Germans and Italians. I have to move to that place when I was 20, and then I have to make a tough decision. And I had to pay some bills that were due as well. So I have to focus a lot on building my company. And I have to say that, like Giorgio Paolo said, he asked, someone asked him, what is the best usage of my time? If time was my currency, what would be the best return on my investment? He said, while we're studying, take some action as well. Yeah. So do things, not just study. So I believe that learn is a constant process. Of course, when you stop to go to a conference, when you read a book, you dedicate moments. But I have to say that for me, it's a fluid 24-hour, 7 days a week process. You're always learning. You learn from the cab driver. You learn from someone you meet in the street. So I'm a communicator. I like to ask. I like to talk. I like to really learn from other people's life. I was in the gym today with someone I admire a lot, who is here, John Gibi, and we were running together. I was making a lot of questions to him about how he's deal with his father's death. My father, I have to say, unfortunately, is ill. He has Parkinson's disease. We're striving hard to make him a better life. So I'm always making questions and always trying to learn from everyone that I can in every second.
So as you said, you've had this extraordinary experience with your father where, on the one hand, you learned the business by making a shoe and presenting him a shoe when you were young. Then at age 18, you had to confront leaving your father. Then at a later point in time, you became partners again. What are the most important lessons that you have learned from your father?
So my father always taught me that do not complicate things too much. Be always in the front line. Always in the front line. My father never had an office. He worked most of the time either in the factory during the first 20 years or in the store and factories. So be always in the front line. Really avoid bureaucracy. Really avoid layers. He hates to give titles to people. He really is someone that works with clients, and he always said that when you have a problem, you go to stores. That's the only way you can solve a problem, is learning with the customer. Don't spend too much time on infinite meetings. He never looked too much on very detailed finance information. He only looked at cash generation. Said, if I generate cash, I think that everything from top of that is moving well.
The first lesson we teach in every class in finance at Harvard Business School, cash is king. You make cash, life moves forward.
So simplicity and really focus on what matters, being present in the front line. So that's I learned one of the big lessons. I could name here another 10 important lessons because he's my mentor. He's the one that really brought me to life literally, and someone that I have the biggest respect.
If your father were here, what would he say he has learned from you?
I think that to be a little bit more aggressive and more of a risk-taking. My father, since he's a self-funded man that started literally from scratch, making 5 pairs of shoes a day 52 years ago, he has a very important say that he always worked not to bankrupt, but not to conquer. So he really admired me. We start to grow through acquisition only 4 years ago, not even so, 3.5 years ago. We have tripled the size of the company, of course, as we were speaking yesterday. It's a trade-off between stability and risk. So learn how to deal with M&A process is something new for me, which I'm learning a lot. But we're moving forward, we're increasing our addressable market. We have really achieved a 40% market share in the women's and handbag business in Brazil, which is unheard of in any country of the world. So my father would say that I think that I admire how you deal well with instability and how you like to be pressured and take risks.
So, you are an extraordinary runner and just a triathlete, and that's even like that. That's not just that. So he just corrected me that being a runner is like being a modest person.
No, I didn't say that.
So
running is a great sport.
Proven that is what his father would say about him is correct. Aggression, ambition, do more is an important part of what makes you tick. What is your business superpower?
I think that is always think that we can do better, and be very focused. And have a team that's living the same dream as you. Cannot be alone in that journey. So I really work basically 24/7. I try to take Sundays off, but my mind is there. My mind is working. I'm connected. So to live this dream as a highest intensity, that's what makes me the superpower. And to always think that you can do something better next day, everything.
When you're a part of a triathlon, is business still in your head, or is running a triathlon such a focusing event that you can only focus on the race?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially that I do long distance triathlon, which has the label of Ironman. I'm glad to have here Nitin Guanais, who started to do triathlon as well, and we meet in a few occasions doing sport, and he's a big admirer. He wrote about how to have an Ironman stamp in your business card, right? And it's a lot of time ago, I think 2017 you wrote that article, and I was really proud to be a part of it. And that is the only time that I don't think about business. It's impossible. I'm really focused, especially on the 3 disciplines, which changes completely from your blood flow to the technical aspect, from swim to bike to run. So I've done already 25 Ironmans, between half and full Ironmans. In the last 10 years, I've been able to achieve the standard to go to the World Champion Kona. So I train about 20 hours a week. And I have a lot of coaches in the world that helps a lot to become a better athlete. So I take it really seriously. And that's one of the fields that I have for life. So I don't really do it because it makes me better as a person or better as a businessman. I do it because I love the challenge. I love to be there in the start line with just some swim goggles and having to face the sea and another 3,000 people that we're all competing against each other. So I'm a very competitive person, and to be part of this world helps me a lot.
So, most people would be happy to be successful in any one of these things. And here you are, you've taken on being Ironman and being at the highest standards of that. And then in business, you set yourself the same high standards. Is that the one thing that you've learned across these 2 things, which is begin every day, as you said, as a new day, and set yourself the next great standard and to push yourself? Or are there other lessons that have come from business that you apply to when you wear those goggles and get going, or the other way around, when you put the goggles aside and you start in business? What are the things that you've learned from these 2 parts of your life that are so important to you?
For sure, there are other lessons that I learned, and I don't want to copy Jorge Paulo, but one thing that he said that I
He's
learned,
a good person to copy.
For sure, and he said that a long time ago when he went to visit Walmart. So he mentioned about what's important now. He didn't make the quote that this comes from Michael Phelps, that on a sprint race of a few seconds, every single detail matters. You win a 50-meter freestyle race by centeness of seconds. So I always think, what's important now? What's important now? So I try to be at every moment very present to that situation and thinking what's important now, what I have to take from this exactly minute. And I don't try to oversee future problems too much at that moment. So there are times that you have to plan, there are times that you have to think about the future, but most of the times that we're working on business, I try to put myself in that meeting and I try to be in a bubble. Sometimes it even makes me later for the next meeting because I put so much effort, and the stuff that I have to learn is to book less meetings during the day because
everybody can learn that lesson.
I really have to have this time clock like we have here now. We only have more 24 minutes. So to be focused and try to give the best from every second, something that I really try to dedicate, and that counts for in sports.
It's a very powerful lesson that I just wanted to underline that you've shared with us, which is that most people, when they think about a business, are often so focused on the vision that they have for their business in the long run that they forget the present. And every business in the end is built based upon the extra energy that you can put into the present. So I think this lesson that you learned from your Ironman world, which is, what can I do to make this moment the best moment? I think if people bring that same ethic to business, in my experience, they'll often achieve their vision as opposed to just constantly thinking about the vision, but not losing the intensity of the present.
Totally agree with you. I think the balance between being a long-term visionary, which makes you the long-term dream and the famous big dream, in between trying to deal with the daily results and how to not, of course, over panic, because every day you have challenge, every day you have failures that you have to overcome next day. But this balance between long-term and short-term thinking and action, I think it's a great thing to define. And I think that we have learned with time that sometimes you put too much effort to solve the short-time issues that you forget about the longevity. So longevity is a mantra in our company, and we try to make everything in a sustainable way so that we can be around for the next lot of years to come.
So you built market share in the shoe business in both Brazil and more broadly. That is exceptional. I mean, you became the largest company in that part of the world, and 40% market share is in no part of the world can you actually find a company that is able to be as successful as you were. And then you could have just continued to ride that success. What made you now decide to do this big merger?
That's an amazing question, and I have to say that question yourself and really argue to yourself, it's worth the journey. You have to be decisive, but I think that's always important to make a balance as well in terms of...
But what motivated it? You could...
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I was with the final talk with my CFO. He's someone that is in the company for 19 years. He started as an intern, and he built up to CFO of a multi-billion dollar company. And I was talking to him like the minute before the signing, said, not that much. I had 2 days still, so I had time to make it off. So he told me, Alex, what will drive you? Because you have an amazing company. You have an amazing life. You make good money. You have enough sources to live for few generations. Why you want to move on? I said, because otherwise I'll not be motivated. We've done something that is incredible. We have a team to lead this company. I have to open space for people that are here knocking the door. I have here Luciana, who is in the company for 27 years, and she started as a shoe model when she was 18 years old. Today, she's the CEO of the shoe business because now we implemented different business units that will be run by independent CEOs. So I said, I have to open space for those people. I'm here competing for the same position. I have to move up, and I have people to replace me. So I want to build the same business model, because one of the business differentiators that we have comparing to the other shoe business in the world is our time to market. So my father had this vision when he closed the factory, never to give away the product development part. So we have one of the most equipped sample factories for shoes in the world. We produce, you asked me yesterday, 60,000 SKUs per year for all the shoe brands. We're able to have a lead time between design and store of only 8 weeks. So we turn our...
You were doing fast fashion before anybody, even the word became known.
The year of 2000, we implemented this business model. And today in apparel, although Brazil is a self-sustainable country from the cotton plantation to the textile, to the sewing and finishing process, it's spread, it's not organized, it's not in a process. The hardware is there, but there's not a software that can really connect and speed up the time between design to sales. And I believe that, I studied this a lot, there's no impossible things to be achieved, because we're not a country that depends on importation for everything. We can do from cotton to the ready product. Of course, a few of the categories we need to import. Today, our local production for apparel, which is unique, is over 80% of the total sales. And we can organize better. So one of my talks with the CEO of the apparel company that we just announced the merge, really got extremely motivated to have this challenge and break through this kind of mantra of the long lead times for the apparel business. So this is, for me, my biggest challenge, and also is how to support fashion. I was talking to a reporter a few months ago, and she asked me, how will you feel now to be in the fashion world? I said, now? I'm on the fashion world since I was 18. So I don't know, you were in the shoe business. And that was kind of, said, yeah, you're right. Shoes, maybe it's hard to create your own fashion through shoes. 90% of your body is occupied by your apparel. So I'll be in the fashion business, and I'll be able to really create something different. So it's going to be extremely challenging, but we are super prepared and very motivated to create this new atmosphere.
So now, these are the kind of statistics that people in business schools tend to know. Most big mergers, the failure rate is like 2 and 3. So big mergers. So if you take 2 mergers of equals, you take 2 companies that are about the same size and you merge them, and you say, 5 years later, how did this merger do? 2 out of 3 fail. They fail to deliver on the promise of the merger. And then people say that, were these done to satisfy the person's ego? Was it done because people overextend themselves? How do you think about being the 1 in 3 as opposed to the 2 and 3?
First, this is not news for me. I heard that from everyone. Yeah. And you can imagine.
Bankers must have told you, everybody must have told you this statistics.
Consultancy firms to sell their job, they were the ones that told me this most. And I'm hiring them, so that I'm sure that this will not happen. That will be 1 of 3. So we believe that there has to be one single culture, okay? There's no 2 cultures. And me and Roberto, the founder of the apparel group, really learned how to see the weakness that are opportunities in each one's style. So in a short sentence, we're a more pragmatic, centric driven company based on results and KPIs. The fashion company, apparel company, is more on autonomy, on freedom, and let people do their jobs with less control. I think that we need both. We need the balance. So we are very conscious about that, and our connection and our mutual admiration of the weak points of each one that we're gonna put together, and how we are being transparent to share that with everyone from the organization, and how also we set up all the details from governance and how we're gonna really structure the company. I think that this put us in a different stage to be the 1 out of 3. And we have also interest alignments in terms of our equity. We have a 10-year lockup contract. We are here for the long run. So both of us, we have a huge amount of our net worth in the company's shares. So we are not here for fail. We know that the challenges are enormous. We're talking about 24,000 people, 2,000 stores, 13 billion reais in sales, 30 different brands that we need to narrow that down a little bit. So we are aware of the challenge. We know how it's going to climb the Everest and to be in the top with being one of the three in the next years.
So one of the stories that you told me yesterday, which I continue to think hard about, is that your father, when he built the business from the earliest days, had this vision that the company would be around till 2154.
Exactly.
Right. So imagine starting a business and from the first day saying this business is going to be around for 200 years, right? And you make that your dream from the beginnings when you're just making a set of shoes. What does that vision mean to you? Like, how do you embrace the idea that this company is meant to last 200 years? And
if you allow me just to give some more color on this mantra, this was not when he created the company. This was around 1993 on the plano color that everybody, especially the business people in Brazil, suffered tremendously. And he had to bring a motivation to his team, say that we're going to surpass that crisis. And the company, because he was born in 1954, so his mantra was, I will not be able to be around, although I would love to, 2154, but the company will be. So we passed through the crisis and many others that came along the way. Another one recently, COVID, and was for us, and I have to say that with all the respect to all the lives that were lost during that time, but that was an opportunity for us to use our digital omni capacity to gain a lot of market share, especially during the times of the lockdown. And I believe that everything that we do is thinking about long term. I'm extremely happy to see now even Roberto finishing his sentence, motivation sentence, towards 2154. So this mantra is really spreading in the company. We're thinking about ways of how to really have this more exposed, and we're gonna make all the effort that are needed to be around that time. We're not gonna be able to presence that, so hopefully our future generations will be.
So people say that when you want to build something, if you go see the great monuments of the world that have managed to last 200 years, there's something about the foundation, there's something about the way you build the architecture, there's something about the things that are truly foundational that enable something to survive that long.
Perfect.
Do you have a view about what are the foundational things that you're trying to make sure, even as you grow, even as you change, because businesses constantly adapt, what has to be at the core that you hold on to as you grow to make sure that this 2154 idea becomes real?
Great analysis. And that relates to what you asked me in terms of what I really learned from my father, the most important thing, and is to be customer-centric. And not to, because a big company like that, you can be lost in so many meetings, in so many areas of the company that the customer is not paying attention. So to really avoid back of the house, everybody has to be in the front line. So the architecture that we build is to have everyone in the company thinking about the customer. And in our case, I was talking to Alex Beringer yesterday, and he asked, how many SKUs you have to build a year to make your business run, and what is the percentage of SKUs that are over 2 years out of your sales? I said around 15%. 80% was created in the last 90 days.
Wow.
So product, being product-centric and really delivering the best possible desirable product, and really understand if the customer is accepting that and changing quickly if it's not. So I believe that that's the foundation that we build in the company, and everybody extremely customer-centric and is oriented to deliver the best product possible. Not in terms of just quality, but in terms of the trend and the fashion. And with product, of course, it comes the brand desirability, it comes the shopping experience, either it's online or offline, it comes all the net promoting score. We're one of the few companies in Brazil that one of the items of our best scorecard from me to everyone in the company is NPS. So we focus on NPS. We measure NPS from all the stores in a daily basis, and we know all the detractors that in a weekly basis let our NPS go down. So focus on customer and creating metrics, not just the feeling, but really having measurement of how is the customer satisfaction is something that I believe is our number one pillar.
So this relentless focus on customer centricity and continually bringing products to these customers that reflect their taste, that reflect their evolving things, or even shapes their tastes. I imagine part of what you do is not just respond to taste, but even build taste in what customers might like.
Exactly that.
So, on the one hand, you have this 2154 vision. On the other hand, I think that life is sometimes easier to see in 10 years.
Yes.
So here we are in 2024. In 10 years, this new combined company that you've built, do you have a sense of what it would look like 10 years from now?
Yes, hopefully I do. And I'll be here to testimony that we're able. I had the same question in 2014. And I arrived in a better spot by different ways that I had thought. But in terms of the size of the company and the results, we achieved over what we have committed to 10 years ago. So we believe that first we're going to have a bigger international presence, especially with one of the brands that was for me the cherry in the cake of this group, that's Farm Rio. The founders came here in Harvard a year ago, Katia and Marcelo, and this brand has a uniqueness of a Brazilian flavor, and the way that it was set up, the distribution internationally, is growing at 35% CAGR in the last 3 years, and I believe that is just the beginning. So
this will become a global brand.
That will become a global brand in 10 years, that's for sure. In the tail of that shoots that has started here 10 years ago, and other brands, one taking my name as I think we didn't talk about it. I have also the opportunity to learn how to design and create. I'm also responsible for the creative part of this new group. And there is a shoe brand that takes under my label. So hopefully that label will be around in a broader global space. In Brazil, our main focus is to have disrupted the fashion cycle for apparel and to be in the same speed to market of what we have today in the shoe business, delivering better product, having less inventory, building sustainability, not just for the please the standards, but to really develop new ways of growth to be sustainable in terms of our people, the materials we use, to invest in new talents. We want to be the sponsor of Brazil Fashion Week that has lost track in the last years. So one of our ambitions in terms of a social work is not to just help poor people or education or health issues, is to help entrepreneurs, is to help creative people that do not have the chance to become a business. So to invest a lot in provide the right sources for creative fashion entrepreneurs. This is one of our goals. And to also have attracted different categories. So today, my current focus is how to disrupt and create a better apparel business. But we believe that there are other categories that can come along the way, like jewelry, like cosmetics, athletics, more athleisure looks. So we are setting up a structure of a company that in the future can have other business verticals rather than today what we have, which is shoes and handbags, women's fashion, men's fashion, and democratic apparel through the Herring brand, which is a 140-year-old brand that sells the best cotton shirt in the world. We want to make that brand even more appealing.
So, again, just to make sure that I can play back what I heard, it seems like 4 or 5 pillars of your vision for the next 10 years is one, let's take 3 or 4 brands that have true global opportunity and make them genuinely global brand. Let's push these things globally. Let's take the apparel business and bring to it the product market cycle and the fast ability to turn ideas into product and bring that to apparel that we've done in shoes. Okay. The third seems to be to make sustainability a core of everything that you do. And the fourth is this idea that we can build even more entrepreneurs in Brazil. And finally, if we know a business that is a multi-product business, then we can always add more products to that business as well.
The fifth would be to build the right succession plan for everybody, including, of course, me.
We'll talk about that in 10 years.
I'll be here.
You'll be here. So we've had this wonderful privilege of spending some time with you, and what's the question that you wish I had asked that I have not asked?
So you make a lot of tough questions to be here in the audience, especially when you told me that I didn't go to college, which I didn't finish college. So I think you made all the...
I made a lot of mistakes as I was asking you questions, so thank you for correcting me.
All the hard ones you made, but I think that you could ask me what was my biggest mistake.
Go ahead.
Okay. So my biggest mistake was to underjudge the challenge that is to set up a new production facility, especially on shoes. So I'll be specific to that point. We still have 4 minutes, but I'll try to be more broad in terms of the situation to analyze risk correctly. So I told you that I listed one of my father's factory in 1995, and late in the 90s, I moved to the south of Brazil. So I found a building that was abandoned for the last 15 years. I got some law from the city hall to rebuild that location. So I had the idea to really close the factory, rent a lot of trucks, transport the machinery, hire local labor, and in 60 days I'll be producing the same amount I was producing at the factory. My father told me that will take you 6 months at least. So count on that. And I didn't value his risk-taking analysis, and I invested a lot to be delivering product in 60 days. And of course, he was right, I was wrong, and I had to cancel most of the orders that I had done of, it was a winter 1999 collection. I had created a super creative collection with many different styles. And I have to go back to customers. I drove about 5,000 kilometers, taking 2 shoes in black. That was the only shoes I could produce in that factory, asking the customer to switch their 30 style order to 2 style, but maintaining the quantity. And I guarantee to that those styles will have a huge sell-through. And most of the customers gave me that vote of trust. We knew that the shoes were extremely commercial. We produced black shoes for a few months only. But from that, we created a factory that still today existent that produced the largest variety of shoes, I think, in the world.
Let me ask you one last question, and then we'll break. As you said, you're one of those unique people who is simultaneously driving the creative vision for your company and the business vision for the company. That's not an easy thing to do. So when you look across the great fashion houses in the world, there's some people who are the creative geniuses, and there's some people who do the business part. What's the secret to being a creative genius? We've talked a lot about business. What will allow, like those of us who come from emerging markets, Indian high fashion is just about beginning to break through. There's a guy called Sabyasachi who's now beginning to be important in jewelry. What is the thing that will allow you to be the person who brings us, that would make us all proud, Brazilian fashion to become the global fashion? What's the stylistic thing that one has to crack?
First is perception, and to really be perceived in all the details, and to be extremely focused on being unique, to really have a personal style, not try to be everything to everybody. So to have personality and to have a real single core style. I'm in the process to have people helping more on the business side, because I believe that the creative part is more unique, is more rare, and drives more value the business side, there are even more competent people than I am. So I'm trying to build a structure that I'll have more people leading the company on the business side, although I try to remain with the position that I have, but more focus on product and creativity.
So I will leave you with one challenge.
Yes.
I have almost no doubt, just given everything that we've learned about you, your drive, your determination, your relentlessness, your ability to focus in the moment, the ambition that you have, the risk-taking that you have, that you're going to build a company that will achieve all of its financial metrics in the next 10 years. I would be surprised if that's not true.
Thank you.
The challenge that I want to leave you with is that you should...
Buy some shares, they're very devaluated.
Yeah. See, there you are. You're a good salesman too. I think the thing that probably everybody in this room would be thrilled about is if in the next 10 years, you built the kind of fashion product that today we mostly associate with the great brands from Europe. I think it's important for people from our parts of the world to build the fashion brands. Tomorrow, people in Europe will say, I don't want to wear Prada, I want to wear Alex Birman.
This is my deep dream. Thank you very much for giving this challenge.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone. It was a pleasure.